What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Devy Royale YouTube channel. We're back with a Devy mock draft. We're going 10 rounds deep of this Devy mock draft. We're going to be looking at player profiles, PFF grades, looking at some of the values out there across the landscape of Devy, and also just kind of talking about some draft tips. So I'm going to be going over those draft tips at the end. So stay with the whole video, hit that like button, make sure you give us little props here for this content. But also, if you don't know what Devy is, look in the description below. How-to video is on there. It's one of my favorite formats, so they get you ready. Also, if you're a dynasty player, let's talk about those guys coming next year. First up, Luther Burden and Tet McMillan and Jeremiah Smith here in the first round. Zachariah Brants, Quinshaw Judkins, Evan Stewart, Micah Hudson, Travion Henderson, Nicholas Singleton, Ollie Gordon, Ashton Genty, and Nico from Tennessee. And when you're looking at these guys, when you're looking at this first round, what I will say is first, wide receivers are always going to be drafted early, right? So we're seeing a lot of wide receivers values, just like in Dynasty. Things are tricking over from Dynasty into Devy. Hey, value the wide receivers. That's why a freshman wide receiver is going to 102. That is the first time I've ever seen that happen in this format, right? Now, quarterbacks are also slipping. So this is a super flex, tied in premium draft, and quarterback went 112. Highest I've ever seen Ashton Genty go, Boise State running back. But the guy that I want to highlight when you're thinking of these guys, obviously those top five are pretty consensus, just where they go. Evan Stewart possibly is the guy that could sneak in there at 103, 104 sometimes, is Nico from Tennessee. And when I talk about him, he's our QB3. Going at 112, though, I like the guts here, right? I don't think really he's going at 112 to 201 on a lot of drafts. He's going in the back end, second, third round. However, I do like him as a quarterback prospect heading into this year. He is tailor-made built, like I said last year, for Tennessee's offense. Arm talent is across the board. He has the ability to make any throw he wants. He gets it through. He has arm strength, right? He layers the ball well. He does a good job of understanding where his receivers need to be. But he knows how to layer it. He's done that since high school. When you go watch him play at Downey High School, you'll see that. He layered the ball extremely well on his tape. Above average athleticism. Last year in the Citrus Bowl against a really tough Iowa defense, he had those 3 rushing touchdowns. Looked pretty good from that perspective that he can at least get in the end zone there. And leadership. All this coaching staff talks about with Nico is leadership, leadership, leadership. They love this kid. There's a reason they didn't want to go out and get a quarterback in the transfer portal, like some other quarterback, some other teams that have freshman quarterbacks that are going to be sophomores. They believe in him. And I think what he did in that Citrus Bowl showed why. Now, areas of improvement, things that he can do a little bit better. He does hold on to the ball too long, and that's one of those things that he did in high school, but that's just youth, right? He's going to improve that, understanding it. And in this offense, especially with the timing point, Tennessee is all about timing, getting the ball out quickly. I guarantee you these points are not going to be areas of improvement next year at this time, right? Weight for the NFL is the one thing, though. 6'6", 215. He has put on some weight. I give him credit. He's put on about 20, 25 pounds according to his listed weight coming out of high school. But, when we think of him as, hey, NFL prospect, what's he going to do? That's what we're trying to think about here on the channel is like, hey, you're getting that value. He's got to put on a little bit more mass, more than likely. Now, when you're looking at his PFF grade, not a ton of stats in terms of what he was able to put up. He only played 5 games last year. It was 28 for 45. But things to watch for this year. How's his ADOT? Is his ADOT higher than what we usually see from a Tennessee quarterback? What's his passer rating? What's his big-time throws? I would be shocked not to see his big-time throws being over 15 this year. That's how confident I am as kind of just as watching him, is his ability to kind of, hey, go out there and put the ball where it needs to go. So Nico being in this range is fun. I do think that next year, if he has a good year, remember, we're talking about how can he be projected next year. If he has a good year this year and looks very good in Tennessee, he could be a top 5 pick in Devy formats. And yes, he went 112 in this one, but he's going late 3rd or 4th in that one. You could increase his value. That's what you're looking at here, is that value piece. Our comp for him in the guide, and this is Christian's comp, and he does a great job with it, Justin Herbert. And I think that's a hell of a comp. I love that comp for him, of what he can be and what his upside is. Now, second round here, Emeka Egbuka, Justice Haynes, Carson Beck, Carnell Tate, DJ Lagway, Eugene Wilson III, Ryan Williams, Isaiah Bond, Arch Manning, Cedric Baxter Jr., Trevor Etienne, and Cam Coleman. So starting to see a lot more wide receivers, especially those freshman guys. Ryan Williams going to Alabama, Cam Coleman going to Auburn. I think it's interesting, too, where you see DJ Lagway going. Some guys love DJ Lagway. Some are completely off of him, right? We're known here as kind of being, I guess, haters for him in terms of his value, but I think he got a lot of mechanics to work up. Don't love the offense that he's in, and don't want to draft a guy like Lagway Lagway in the second round. I'd rather take some other guys, some other shots. For example, his teammate. So let's get into one of the more underrated wide receivers out there. Eugene Wilson III is a completely underrated player right now. 71 targets last year, 61 catches, 544 yards, and 6 touchdowns. But this kid is going to be special. Great pound-for-pound athlete. You have to love that. 5'10", 181. You like what he can do on the field, even though with his limited stature, right? Very creative playmaker. When you're looking at his numbers, you can see they just got it to him, and he went out in space. Bubble screens, end arounds, anything they could do to get him the ball, they definitely did. And I think they're going to even improve that on him this year. I think that his ability to kind of be explosive, right? Strong separator, those type of things. He's going to have some expectations this year. I really think so. And he's a lot of fun. Like, this is the type of guy that gets drafted by the NFL. These are the wide receivers they love. He's our wide receiver 9 consensus overall out of all the Devy prospects. Now, areas of improvement, undersized, and I put those kind of, I guess, in quotation marks. I like where he's at. I like him to add 5 pounds, right? Something around there. Might profile as a slot, but did see that he played out wide a little bit last year. So not watching those numbers and seeing what those numbers end up being is something to note. And then, man, his quarterback play. Mertz is there. Lagway is there. You know, what does that look like? He might have a whole new coach. I would not be shocked to see Eugene Wilson transfer once his coach get fired this year, unless Napier can figure it out. And that's something to kind of know with his overall profile. Now, when you're looking at the PFF grades, though, receiving grade, 81.5, really good. 1.97 yards per out run. Yak and ADOT. ADOT, you like to see up a little bit more. That's what happens when you have the bubble screens, poor quarterback play, and slants. You're not going to get a high ADOT there. No drops, though, and that is something to note. You know, all those targets he got, receptions, 0 drops. Hands. This kid's got them. Aggressive hands. He's going to go up and get it. 41.4% slot percentage. Out wide, about 56%. So I will say this, as we watch these guys next year, if we see these numbers kind of stay the same, then I'm less concerned about him just profiling as a slot. Now he's Xavier Worthy to me. He can play inside out. Now we're excited because Xavier Worthy just went in the first round, right? That's what you're looking at when you're looking at value. Now in the third round, a lot of fun to get some older guys in here. Barry Brown, Jaden Ott, right there, you know. And Barry Brown's 2025. Kevin Concepcion, 2026. Jurion Dickey there. Damian Martinez, Amarian Hampton, Jackson Arnold, Nick Anderson, Caleb Jackson, Drew Aller, Jordan James. A lot of fun here. Now, Aller's the big what if, right? And I've been saying this multiple times based on the quarterback position. Whoever drafts the 2025 quarterback the latest that hits, you're going to win your drafts, right? That's as simple. Who is that guy is the question mark. Then you have Caleb Jackson, who I think is getting slept on a little bit. I dived deep into the running backs for the Devy guy that we did. I like Caleb Jackson's outlook at LSU. I think that they can kind of lean on him. I know Brian Kelly doesn't tend to do that, but I think that when you're looking at it, they've needed a guy like him for a long time in that offense. I think he could be that guy. I'm a big fan of him. I'm also a big fan of this kid. Jordan James from Oregon is going to be one of those guys that we're talking about as it progresses, right? Last 2 years looked okay. This last year, 759 yards, split time with Bucky Irving, 5'10", 205, really good north-south guy. Very solid play strength for his size at 205. Missed tackles force is probably where he kind of built himself. 33 missed tackles force. He averaged about 4 yards after contact when you're looking at that. Very solid runner. And I think that in the Big Ten, with that offensive line, he might be one of the top 5 guys in the Big Ten this year. Now, areas of improvement. I think the thing that stands out to me is patience. I think part of that was probably trying to make big plays every time he touched the football because he didn't get the opportunities when he needed to. Receiving ability wasn't necessarily there. 15 catches, 132 yards. He's not a dunce. He can do it. It's just, hey, where's that production come from? And then refining his rushing technique. I do think he needs to get a little bit more lateral agility at the line of scrimmage, how to find creases a little bit more, but that comes with patience and vision. The thing I'll say about these guys is, like, when you're looking at these type of running backs, if he can project into being a 3-down guy or perceived 3-down guy, that helps in the Devy format, because you got to remember, the Devy format is all about trading and value and how these pieces get better. If James turns into a very good pass catching back, now people are going to project him as a 3rd-down guy. Or let's say he maybe struggles inside a little bit this year, but he is a better pass catcher and he does those type of things. Then you're looking at a running back now that people are going to want to trade for or draft based on their pass catching upside. So that's how, like, the Devy format works, right? Try to find profiles. Look for those profiles there. Last year, when you look at the numbers, 94.8 run grade. One of the best run grades that we saw last year in college football. Yards after contact over 430, 33 missed tackles for us, 21 runs of 10 plus yards. You like that from a running back perspective. 37.4 breakaway percentage and an 108.3 elusive percentage is good, right? We want to see that up a little bit. That's where that lateral agility comes in. But big fan of Jordan James in this offense and a running back there in that third round. Now, going to the fourth round, we got Shedeur Sanders, Torrey Horton, Jonte Cook, Devin Neal, TJ Moore, Katron Allen could be a value there. Colston Loveland, Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, Darius Taylor, Antonio Williams, and Jackson Dart. Listen, man, Travis Hunter is an enigma to me because you're drafting him in the fourth round. You better be sure he can play wide receiver, or he gets drafted by the Raiders because you know the Raiders will play him both ways and give him like 150 snaps. I'm just concerned that he profiles as a corner. He's going to be a lockdown corner, and he's not going to have enough snaps as a wide receiver. He might do it sometimes to be fantasy relevant. Using a fourth round pick on him is ballsy, and that's just not something that I'm comfortable doing. Other guys in this range that I really like, I like Antonio Williams there coming off a down year. Jackson Dart, 2025 quarterback again. Which one's hitting, right? That's what you have to look at. But the guy that I want to talk about, Colston Loveland. And this is my guy in terms of just being from Michigan. I have watched Colston Loveland play every single snap of his career. And that is not hyperbole. I have watched it. One thing that he does well, elite athleticism in the open field. And we talk about elite, when we're looking at just tight end position, you're looking at relative athletic score. That stuff matters. And when you're looking at Loveland's relative athletic score, our projected RAS is 8.50. One thing that we do in here is we project RAS in our guide, try to help you with that tight end position, which matters. He's got that. Yak ability. He can do that when you're looking at what he's been able to do. And route running in hands. The number that stood out to me when I was writing up his guide, against zone coverage, 88.7% open target rate. That's top 3 among all tight ends in college football last year with Brock Bowers up there. He gets open against zone. And when you're looking at cover 2, everything that the NFL is going to, Loveland's going to feast there. Now, separation against man is where you struggle with, especially against Alabama. I went to that game, but he just struggled against them to kind of create that separation needed. Ohio State, he struggled a little bit too. That's something he's got to work on. And he's not really an inline blocker, strength off the line. He can get chipped, kind of moved off the line a little bit. One thing to see, and as the season progresses, is how well his strength improves. Does he put on mass, weight, those type of things? Now, from a PFF standpoint, 80.5 receiving grade, yards per route run, you love 2.38. Yak and ADOT, pretty good for a tight end. I think the thing that stood out to me, slot percentage, 50%. So he's going to be a receiver. And that's what you have to look for him from that perspective. He can do that. Like when you think about how Brock Bowers got drafted and how they're going to use him, right? They have Brock Bowers and they have Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is that inline tight end. Bowers is definitely going to be that slot guy kind of being used in that role. And you have to think Loveland might do that too from an NFL projection standpoint. Maybe a team drafts him and, hey, yeah, we're control personnel, but you can be our slot guy. You can be our wide receiver too. Loveland to me is a value in the tight end premium position in the 4th, 5th round where he's going. I actually saw him in the 6th round, smash Colston Loveland as tight end 1 in our Devy guide in that range, right? And I don't advocate drafting tight ends, but there are some exceptions to that rule. And if you can get him there in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, that's okay. That's where Kyle Pitts used to go. And that's before the Brock Bowers love. A lot of these tight ends got a little bit overdrafted the last couple of years. Pitts was going the 4th, 5th round before he got drafted by the Falcons, right? Now, when you're looking at the 5th round here, Connor Wiegman, Tez Johnson, Branson Robinson, Dante Moore, Donovan Edwards, JoJo Trader sitting in there, Deuce Robinson, who's / wide receiver tight end from USC, Julian Sang, Cameron Ward, DJ Giddens, Brandon Ennis. So you're looking at some guys that maybe just didn't pan out their freshman year. You're looking at that veteran quarterback, maybe Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. type with Cameron Ward. Or you're looking at a true freshman quarterback that's absolutely been just killing it at Ohio State, Julian Sang. Everybody out there is just talking about this kid as being the next coming of maybe like the CJ Stroud type of just that next Ohio State quarterback, which makes me just sad because I absolutely hate Ohio State as a Michigan fan, but I respect him, right? I respect him out there. But all it counts is he's just crushing it. And when you watch this tape, man, there's not a lot of flaws in that tape. Very good accuracy. When you're looking at his ability to kind of layer passes, former Elite 11 MVP, and they talked about the Elite 11, just how good he is with his accuracy. He is one of the more accurate quarterbacks of the class. Has really, really good intangibles. Really kind of leadership. That's what I've been hearing when you're looking at like Bucknuts, the blog, talking about his leadership ability, teammates, those type of things. Athleticism is there, right? Rushing, showed some rushing upside, not a statue back there, able to manipulate the pocket. I think that he does a good job of keeping his eyes downfield, and he's not one of those guys that gets pressured and runs. Areas of improvement, he's got to work on his frame. That's the thing to me is if he's going to get out there early, will he get out there with Will Howard and Devin Brown being there? Frame is definitely an issue. Crowded quarterback room, but it sounds like he's their guy. And in Division I processing, that's something that all these guys are going to have to do. But I do think that he could challenge for be QB2. Like, I think that is one of those areas where quarterback 2 is on the horizon for him. And if they struggle a little bit, maybe they lean and go to him. Now, this was his recruiting profile. He was originally committed to Alabama before the coaching change with Saban. Now he's coming there. He's from California out here. He has one of that molds, when you're looking at what he can do. And the stats below, that's what he did his senior year. Now, looking into the 6th round, Taylor Tatum, Ryan Wingo, freshman guys, right? Nate Frazier being in there, Perry Thompson being in there. So there are some guys out there, Bryant Wesco, that you're looking at. This is when they, Devy managers are okay taking some risk at those true freshman guys that they think can break out. Now, don't overdraft true freshmen. You look for those elite profiles like Jeremiah Smith, but there are some values to be had here in this late round. Perry Thompson's another one that I like. Mekhi Lemon was kind of going around the 3rd or 4th last year. Now you can get him in the 6th. Eric Singleton is another one from Georgia Tech that a lot of people like there. But I do want to profile running back that I don't know if a lot of people talk about. Abu Sama III. I think, when you're looking at him, Sama's a pretty strong runner. When I was watching his tape, kind of going through this profile, excellent twitch, lateral agility. Like, that's the first thing that stands out when I was watching him play. I was like, man, this guy's got some juice. He's got some twitch. You like him, his ability to kind of make people miss tackle force are there. Big playability as well. So when you're looking at his big playability, like we saw that last year for Iowa State, they need that. I think they're an underrated team in the Big 12 as well. Like when you're looking at it overall, I think he's one of those runners that can definitely kind of make a difference out there and kind of be that big play guy. Areas of improvement, inside run, not really there. A lot of bouncing, right? Gets it inside, boom. As soon as he feels a little bit of pressure, defense comes up, he definitely tries to get the edge a little bit too much. Receiving ability, not really there. Like, he did not profile as a receiver at all. And again, kind of that same thing. Refine his rushing technique. Little, when you're thinking of him as a runner, being a little bit nuanced, kind of understanding kind of inside zone, vision, maybe, and patience. I think that he has that a little bit. He has a twitch and a lateral agility, but you'd like to see him a little bit more patient with those blocks, understanding his blocks and recognizing scheme up front to be able to make those big plays there. Now, when you're looking at his PFF grades, 84.4 yards after contact is really what stands out to me. 550, 36 missed tackles for us, and 13 10+ runs right there. Elusive rating was off the charts, 273.4. That's pretty good in terms of what he was able to do. Now, limited sample size, but if we're going to project someone as maybe increasing their value in Devy, that's what you're looking for. That elusive rating is there. The missed tackle force are there. Breakaway percentage is there. You have to love that. Now, when you're looking in the 7th round here, Luke Reynolds, Malachi Nelson kind of going through here. So now you're taking shots and profiles. You're looking for guys that you like. Jalen Monroe, another 2025 quarterback. Quinn Ewers fell down in the 7th round. You're sitting there like, hey, I'm going to take a shot on them. Kyron Lacey from LSU, 5th-year wide receiver, but you're like, hey, LSU just produces first-round wide receivers. I'll take a shot here. Now, that's not the LSU guy I want to talk about, though. Garrett Nussmeier is the LSU quarterback I want to talk for. And if you're going to take a shot on a quarterback profile late, might be Garrett, right? Really good leadership, was behind Jaden Daniels, decided not to transfer, has paid his dues, so to speak, there. They've talked about him being a better quarterback in terms of just understanding kind of leadership styles with his wide receivers, was out there really not trying to be, Jaden Daniels in the spring camp, was just, hey, I'm Garrett. This is what I'm doing here. Very prototypical pocket quarterback, able to sling it. He's got arm talent. When you watch him play, he's got that arm talent all across the field. He can make any throw. That's why people are projecting him right now as like a sleeper. The thing with him is, when he's been in games, he's been a little inconsistent at times. The turnovers is the big thing. And Brian Kelly put an emphasis on that this offseason. I read an article that talked about that, is where he went to get in. He was just trying to always make the big play. That's a tendency to not hit all progressions either. He's like, oh, that guy's deep. I'm going to throw it to him. Oh, I'm going to make that first read. I can get it there. So the biggest thing for him on this team and as a prospect, and this might be a kid that comes back another year, but he could still increase his value, and this late is a heck of a value, is, how does his progressions go? How does his turnover-worthy plays go? Do they go down? And just, is he making the right reads? Because I think really he's got the tools. He's got the physical tools. It's the mental tools that he's going to have to progress on. Now, when you look at the numbers from last year, again, we're talking 7 games he played last year. 84 offensive grade, not bad. Passing grade was okay. Big time throws are 5. 1 turnover worthy play, which isn't bad. Limited sample size. ADOT was there. Passer rating's okay. But this year, full reins. This is your team. What are you going to do with it? He could definitely rise in value. And I love that 7th round, kind of 8th round, 9th round, if you can get him in that range, depending on the draft that you're in. Now, 8th round. We're almost done. We're going through three more rounds here. And then I'll be talking a little bit of tips for you guys. This is where you start seeing some of the running backs of the freshman class, Kendra Young, James Peoples, Jordan Marshall. You might see them go earlier. It really just depends on when these guys out here just buy into them, right? Lenore Sellers is going to be a South Carolina quarterback there. Jonah Coleman going over to Washington from Arizona. I'm a big fan of Jonah Coleman. I do think that he's a fun player in the 8th round there. Kate Klubnik as well. Pretty fun. Now, the guy I do want to talk about, though, is Jeremy Bernard. He is going from Washington to Alabama. Now, Jalen Hale looks like he is out for the year for Alabama, so that's going to give Bernard a bunch of targets. Now, if you don't know who he is, very strong hands in the middle of the field. He is really, really good over the middle, which not a lot of, wide receivers can do that, like especially early on. But he has that ability, and he's good enough to basically kind of, be a chain mover, get those first downs, and definitely be an option for Jalen Milroe in this Alabama offense, especially with some of the guys that are injured. Breaks tackles in the open field really well, really good lateral agility. He is a Washington, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, Roman Dunze type, right? He's going to be that guy that just is going to be able to break tackles, strong hands in open field. Really, really good there. Fluid athlete, right? A lot of fun there in the same scheme that he knows, which is good because I do think that he struggles to kind of win routes. Routes aren't very crisp. So when you're watching him, you're like, okay, he's schemed open. He's not really getting himself open there. Releases can be a struggle, especially off the line a little bit. Lacks production. When you're looking at the numbers, not great. 430 yards, 2 touchdowns. This year, though, could be the guy. And they've had a lot of good reports out of summer practice. If that's the case, then, that's a big, big boom up, especially in this offense. PFF grades from last year, again, he played in 14 games, had 34 catches, or 35, 430 yards. Okay. ADOT was there, played behind 3 NFL wide receiver draftees. So that's to show you just how talented that room was. But there's an opening in Alabama at the wide receiver position. I think Bernard can definitely take the reins there, and you have to like that. Now, 9th round. Not going to read through everybody here. You can kind of look at it as you want. Riley Leonard, another 25 quarterback in there. Marcarius White sitting there. A lot of different guys in that range that you can kind of go through. The guy I do want to talk about, though, I not projecting this kid as an NFL quarterback. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to draft this kid because of like NFL upside. But damn it, Kansas State quarterback Avery Johnson is so much fun to watch. Dual threat ability, he has that. He is the best dual threat ability. He has the best dual threat ability of any quarterback in Devy, in college football right now in terms of this list and what we're talking about. Now, part of that reason why, he might struggle is he's not, that he's more of a rusher than he is a passer, but he definitely has arm talent. We just don't know where it goes all the time. That's why he's so much fun to kind of watch, And that's one of those areas. He's got awareness. He knows where he's going to go there. He's dynamic, man. Like, he is just fun. And he's not small, like 6'2", 188. He's not small there. He's fearless, though. Fearless gunslinger, playmaker, kind of those guys. He has that. Areas that he's got to improve, though. Mechanics are all over the place. Part of that is because of what he played in high school. Now he's coming here. He's kind of doing those things. You got to improve that. Accuracy and timing. Biggest thing is he got to be able to layer the football. He's got to show that he can do that. It's going to take development time with him. He, to me, is like a 4-year guy, but dang, he's fun to watch. I have a lot of fun watching Avery Johnson play, and I'm excited for him moving on. When you're looking at his offensive grade, passing grade is 59.8. That just shows you the inconsistency as a passer. But, he brings a lot to the table. There's a lot worse picks in the 9th or 10th round than Avery Johnson, especially with his upside as a kind of a dual threat kid. ADOT 9.5. He has that. He's going to be a fun one to watch as his career unfolds. And in the last round here, Petaway, Lyle, these other guys going in this 10th round. Raheem Sanders sneaking in there, 25 running back. I don't know if you have any Raheem Sanders truthers out there, but 10th round for Raheem might be one of those things you're like, I'll be willing to kick the tires a little bit on there. The guy that I just want to kind of throw in there, Benjamin Urasek is going to Georgia this year. You will notice that the tight ends just don't get drafted, though, right? Like Oscar Delp didn't get drafted in this. Deuce Robinson got drafted. Harbor got drafted as wide receivers. So you're really not seeing tight ends get drafted in this format anymore because all these late breakout guys. Your second might be the one that you take a shot on. Good size, great athlete when healthy. Like I think he does a pretty good job there from an athletic perspective. When he was at Stanford, his best year was basically his redshirt freshman year, 658 yards. Really, really good there. Inline blocking, though, he's probably projects more as an inline guy. That's why Georgia really likes him and Delp together. I think they're going to fit well. But the production, the injuries, play speed is pretty average. I don't know what his RAS is. We have him at 7.85, so that's really probably why he's getting drafted a little later. And his lateral movements are just not there. And that's just one of the things. Like, he's a very, very solid inline guy, but I needed to kind of highlight him because of how late he is going there. Receiving grade this last year, again, Stanford was a dog crap program last year as they're rebuilding there. So I wouldn't take too much away from that. ADOT is fine. He was their number one option for a couple years there before he got injured last year. He played 6 games, but he's in there. If you want to take a shot, either him or Oscar Delp, those guys kind of late at the tight end position. Another guy that didn't get drafted in the tight end, Luke Lachey from Iowa. Just draft Iowa tight ends. That's fine too. All right, let's get into, appreciate you hanging around for the 10 rounds, kind of the mock. Let's get into the draft tips. So I get a lot of questions about this in our Discord and our Patreon and talking about drafts. And the biggest thing, the shift that I've seen in Devy, one thing to do as you draft progresses, target value risers, right? So what I mean by that, you should be looking at the Devy format as accumulating value on the college football side, the Devy side, to trade to win your NFL side. Stop building Devy rosters just to have cool college names, right? Build value risers. So target those guys that I mentioned like Garrett Nussmeier is a perfect example. You draft him in the 7th or 8th round and he has a good year at LSU. Even if he goes back to LSU, people will be like, oh, wow, he could be up there in the 26th class now. And you have a value riser. Find the value risers, right? Don't take the floor guys. Don't take the guys that are kind of the floor wide receivers or the floor running backs. For example, one guy that I hate to call him a floor guy now, but he's kind of like that, Devin Neal from Kansas. I like Devin Neal. The NFL didn't. They told him to go back to school, and he did go back to school in a down class. Now he's in a 2025 class that's loaded with a ton of guys. You draft him, you're drafting him as a floor guy at a position of depth, right? Don't go there. I'd rather take an upside swing at a wide receiver at his current ADP than that. So that's what I mean there. Don't add overdraft quarterbacks. We've talked about that multiple times, but look for value guys. Look for guys late that you're okay taking, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round. I don't mind taking that. Another guy out there that probably isn't going to be one of those guys, but Dylan Gabriel, if he has a huge year for Oregon, he's not even going drafted in 10 rounds, right? You have an extra 10th. I don't know, take a shot on him. People were scoffing at Bo Nix 2 years ago. Something to kind of note there. Don't target team needs as well. So I get a lot of questions like, I need running back depth on my Devy team. You don't need running back depth on your Devy team. You know what you need? You need running back depth on your NFL side. Go trade for that. Don't draft based on what you need. You should look at the Devy draft as separate. Don't even look at your NFL roster, in my opinion. Even the quarterback position, because you're going to reach on positions that just don't make sense. Look at the Devy as separate. Look at the Devy as creating much value as you possibly can to have a trade market for other guys, especially on the NFL side. That's how you should be looking at Devy drafts. And just target profiles. Look at guys that can definitely go out there and rise in value. Look at the small slot guys like Eugene Wilson, who've been drafted in the first round, Xavier Worthy. Go find a Brian Thomas Jr. Go look for guys that have been going. And look at the running back position. See who have been drafted, Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks. Go find those guys. Target the profiles that the NFL said they love, because that's how you make your money. That's how you get the value there, and that's kind of how you go through it. So hope that helps. If you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me at our Patreon, or you can reach out to me on Twitter. You can always come in there and talk to me in my DMs at DuBois_22. But in the Discord is probably the best. You can check it out below. We go through mock drafts. We currently have ADP. Jay Stein is also coming on to us full-time with us now, so he'll be doing all his data on top of all kinds of other fun stuff that he's got coming there. So go join the Patreon if you have any questions, or if you want to kind of help us, support us here as we kind of address this new venture. But I appreciate you guys. I will check you guys on the next video.